Alright guys, we're going to cover cleaning and lubricating the chain on the 2021 Diavel 1260S. This is a pretty standard procedure for any motorcycle chain, really. I have a 3D X-ring chain, which is anodized gold and black. And, you know, what's really important about lubricating these chains is making sure that your O-rings are free of contaminant like sand and gravel and dirt, and just, you know, making sure that those O-rings are lubricated. But it's not necessary to have the entire chain coated in lubricant, because these anodized chains, they don't rust. If you have a chain that is not anodized, that's just, you know, bare steel, you know, you want to have a thin coating of lubricant on the chain, but definitely thin, because if it's not thin, you're going to have spray off that gets all over your exhaust and just really all over the place. So what do we need for this? A couple of things, really. I just have a little pan here and an old paintbrush that we're going to use. You know, the shop manual will tell you that you can clean your chain with diesel fuel. I don't recommend it. I've tried it. I just don't recommend it because diesel fuel doesn't evaporate, so it stays very liquidy. And if you do clean your chain with that, you're going to have diesel fuel, just liquid diesel fuel all over the place, and it's just it's a nightmare situation. I actually did follow the advice of the shop manual one time and decided never to do that again. Here we have a grunge brush. It's called the grunge brush. And if you have a lot of buildup, you can definitely use this brush. It works pretty well. Some gloves from the auto parts store. Definitely recommend wearing gloves. These are some pretty heavy duty gloves. I think they're 7 mil. Yeah, they're 7 mil gloves. Nitrile, and they've got to be nitrile because they have to be resistant to gasoline, diesel fuel, you know, brake cleaner, any carb cleaner, anything that we might be using like that. Instead of using chain cleaner, which is about $20 a bottle, I just use starting fluid because it's $2 to $3 a bottle. It sprays on, it cleans really well, it evaporates very quickly into the atmosphere. It is flammable, and you know, it does. You do need to use this in a well-ventilated space. But this won't damage your O-rings, it won't damage your paint, it won't damage plastics. So this is really, you know, a very good cleaner in terms of a spray-on cleaner. And here we have some Motor Rex chain lube. I recommend the Road Motor Rex chain lube because it's very tacky, it's very sticky. It's kind of like a white, almost like a white lithium grease that sprays out. And after you spray this on, you want to wait about a day or so before you take the bike out riding. That'll give plenty of time for the liquid solution to evaporate and leave behind only the lubricant itself. If you start riding right after you spray this on, well, it's going to spray, it's going to fly off the chain and get all over the place. Some shop towels. You know, just get at least one roll. I mean, this is a twin pack, but get at least one roll of shop towels. You're going to use about maybe 2 of them, 3 maybe at the most, so not that many. And then these are your standard shop towels, which are okay, but they're not all that great. And then these are microfiber shop towels, which I actually used last time, and these work a lot better. You can machine wash these, ultra hot water, use a bunch of OxyClean and detergent, and they work great, so you can keep reusing those. So we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our grunge brush here, and these are real coarse bristles. They're plastic, you know, nylon bristles, but they're very coarse. So don't apply a lot of pressure when you're using this on the chain, just very light pressure, because you don't want to damage your O-rings, right? So what I do is I just kind of hold the brush on here, and then I rotate the wheel. Okay, and then what we'll do here is we'll hit it from the bottom. Okay. You know, there's a lot of dirt coming off. I see it falling on the floor. There's a decent amount coming off. Okay. And then we'll take your kind of cheaper shop towel here, fold it up like so, and then what I like to do is I like to find where the master link is, which is right here, okay? Start at the master link, just so you can track your progress a little bit easier. And you just start spraying real good with the starting fluid. And I usually buy a couple of cans of this. I'll use 1 can, maybe 1.5 cans to do the chain. And then you just start pulling the chain along. And you really just spray it good right on top of those O-rings. In this case, they're X-rings, but just keep moving. And obviously, because this is, you know, highly volatile starting fluid here, you want to make sure that you don't have any sparks. Don't light up a cigarette while you're doing this. And make sure that your rag, when you're done with your rag, you can put it outside somewhere and let it dry out. It should dry out pretty quickly in the sun. Don't throw it in your garbage can while it's saturated in starting fluid, especially in the summertime. And again, you know, starting fluid doesn't really hurt anything, but if you do get it onto your paint or your rim, you can just wipe it off. It's not a big deal. I use this stuff for everything. Cleaning sap, sticker residue, you know, everything really. Anything where you need a solvent that's not gonna hurt surfaces, you know, that's where this stuff really comes in handy. So this rag is completely saturated now in starting fluid. I mean, it's so saturated that it's dripping, right? That's why I kind of got this pan under here, just to catch, because it's dripping down, you know, black, greasy liquid, and that'll stain your garage floor if you don't clean it up pretty quick. You know, you can try to use a paper towel for this, but generally the paper towels, they come apart, they fall apart real fast, and they leave a lot of, they start shredding and leaving a lot of residue all over your chain, and it's just it's a pain in the ass, so I don't recommend using a paper towel for this. And, you know, cleaning your chain is something that you definitely want to do every 500 to 600 miles. Mostly they recommend doing it at 500 miles, every 500. You know, if the chain doesn't look really dirty at 500 miles, if it's not terrible, you can just spray some new lubricant onto it and go another couple 100 miles before you have to, like, clean it really good. But it's really just it's keeping those rings lubed that's the most important, right? And after about 500 miles, the lubricant is just pretty much dusted. I mean, it's completely covered in dirt and dust and grit. A lot of it's flown off the chain, so you got to come back and do this. Okay, so I've circled all the way back to the master link. Now I'm just going to hit the teeth real quick. So I like to clean the teeth because there's a lot of buildup that starts to build right here around the teeth. So I get the teeth. And I just kind of rotate it. I'm flinging starting fluid all over the place right now. Now this is a Super Sprox Stealth Sprocket. You can get this on Super Sprock's website. You can also get it on revzilla.com, which is another great online retailer for motorcycle parts without a doubt. And we're running, the sprocket carrier is a Ducati. You can go to ducabikedirect.com. That's the US website for Ducati. And you can order that sprocket carrier with the sprocket carrier nut, the axle nut, and you know, the 5 or 6 nuts that hold down the sprocket to the carrier. It's really a nice piece. It looks fantastic. Alright, so we've cleaned up those teeth on the front side. Now I'm just going to clean it up on the back side, right? You can't really see the back side, so you just gotta kind of feel it with your fingers. But as we're going along here, I'm going to clean that real good. Rotate to another part of the rag here. I mean, the starting fluid is pretty much, you know, evaporating at a rapid rate right now. The rag isn't dripping everywhere like it was before. There's still a decent amount coming off the back side. Alright, that's pretty good. Okay, so just gonna wipe the rim down a little bit here. Alright. So what's next? What is next? We realign to the master link in the chain. Here's the master link right here. And I have a decent amount of starting fluid that's in this bucket here, right? From when I was spraying. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up here like this and we're just gonna paint the chain. Really paint it good. Because this gets into the O-rings, like this gets in between the links and into the O-rings, and the rag really doesn't. So that's what we're gonna do. Just kind of really get in there. Cheap paintbrush will do the trick. If you want to get a smaller one, like a 1-incher, it's probably better, you know. And when you're using the brush, you know, there's definitely debris. Okay, pull that rag out of there. It splatters, you know, the brush splatters, right? So you're gonna have to do a little cleanup on your floor and your rim, and maybe a little bit on the side of your tire. You're gonna have a little splatter from this paintbrush. There's no way around that, unfortunately. I mean, you can definitely just sit there with the 2 bottles of starting fluid and just spray all day long and just pressure that stuff out of there. But that does, that does run up the costs, and it's not quite as effective as using the paintbrush. So we'll just keep doing this until we get right back to the master link, and then we'll know that we're pretty much done with this particular phase of the chain cleaning process. Can you use gasoline for this? Yeah, you probably could, but I wouldn't recommend it. Gasoline does tend to leave a little bit of residue behind. It doesn't evaporate nearly as fast, and it is a little bit more damaging to your surfaces than starting fluid is. Okay. So I'm gonna spray a little bit more starting fluid into the pan here, just to have a little bit more there. Now, if anybody watching this video knows of another product that's similar to starting fluid, but cheaper, definitely post that in the comments and let us know, because that would be even better. I mean, I'm paying $2.50 to $3 a bottle for the starting fluid, but it's very possible that we can get it for something cheaper that works just as well. Okay. So now we're going to do one more pass with the starting fluid on the chain. So let's back it up to the master link and let's do our final pass. Nobody's going to clean a chain as good as you can clean your chain. You take it to the dealership, they're not going to clean it nearly as well, okay? Without a doubt, they're not. If you have an air compressor, you can also use an air compressor to hit it and blast off, a lot of particles that are, really wedged in there. So that helps. So I've almost used an entire bottle of starting fluid so far. I might actually run out before we even get back to the master link on this particular phase. So I'll probably have to go grab another bottle real quick from the shelf. Yep, it's toast. Yeah, it's toast. Alright, so I'll go grab another one right quick. I think a lot of people have figured out that starting fluid works great for doing this kind of work, because every time I go to the auto parts store, they only have a couple of cans on the shelf tops, They used to stock like 50 cans of the stuff. So every time I go, I pick up about 4 or 5 cans, knowing that it's almost, you know, it's almost 2 cans just to do your chain one time. If you want to do it real effectively, you know, if you want to do a good job. If you're going to spend the time to sit down and do this, you might as well do it right and do it well. Alright, so we've already passed the master link, so I'm pretty much done spraying. Now I'm just gonna rub the chain down pretty good here as we finish up. Rub it down good, rub the rollers down. Okay, it's still coming off pretty black here. All right, I think that's pretty good. So we'll center back on the master link here, and then we'll wait about 5 to 10 minutes or so for all the starting fluid to fully evaporate off the chain before we put the lubricant on, okay? Okay, so now that the starting fluid has fully evaporated, we're going to go ahead and put on this Motorex chain lube here. I'm just going to shake it up real quick. I kind of already shook it, but that was about 10 minutes ago, so give it a little quick shake. We've got our blue shop towel here, and what I do is I fold this into quarters, like so, okay? I stick it behind the chain like that, and I just cup the chain with the paper towel, and then I come in here and I just spray, right, like this, okay? A nice coating on the chain. You know, just get it real good, right? Get a good coating on there, and then we'll rotate the tire, and we'll just continue to do that. You want to make sure that you're getting the O-rings, right? So you want to go top down, get the backside O-rings on the backside and the front side, and then, you know, clean up any residual that might be dripping down. So we'll go like that. And we'll just do the whole chain like this. And you want to make sure that you've got that paper towel nicely cupped, because you don't want to get any of this stuff on your tires or on your disc, the rear disc, the brake disc. You don't want to get this stuff on there. So, you know, my recommendation too is when you're pushing down on the nozzle, don't push all the way down on it. Just do like a quarter push or half push. If you push all the way down, it's going to come out too fast, too quickly, too fast, too much pressure. Okay, so we're going to continue here. The lubrication process goes pretty quickly. You know, it's pretty liquidy at first, a little bit runny. They do make an off-road variant of this. This is the road variant, but they make an off-road variant, and the difference is that the off-road variant is way stickier. It's tackier, almost like glue, kind of. So it doesn't really fly off your bike, you know. And I was at Cycle Gear one time, and the guy was like, "Yeah, I recommend this one because it doesn't fly off the chain like the other lubricants do." This one does fly off a little bit, which is why I was saying, like, you know, after you spray this chain down, you want to come back and make sure that you don't have too much excess hanging out on your chain. Just enough to keep the rings lubricated. And then you want to kind of pad down or wipe off the rest. You know, you're not using this stuff to protect the chain from rust. I mean, if you're using a bare steel chain, obviously, you know, you want to protect it from rust a little bit. But for the most part, this is not really a protectant so much as it is a lubricant. Okay, so we're just about full circle here on the lube, and now that we're full circle, what we're gonna do is we're gonna rotate the tire and just run the chain through the paper towel, okay? Like so. Alright. And then you know, we can rotate the fold on the paper towel a little bit. Stick it up in here. So you can see we've got, you know, a decent amount of lubrication on the chain, but even as it sits right now, there's going to be a lot of stuff that flies off. So I like to get another clean paper towel and wipe it down a little bit. So we'll wipe it down a little bit more. A little bit more than we have currently. Yeah, it's pretty solid. You know, you can pull it through and just kind of touch it up like this by hand. There doesn't have to be all that much lube on the outside of the chain. I mean, all this is going to do on the outside here is just allow dirt and dust to collect and attach to your chain. So on the outside links, you can wipe it down pretty good. You don't need to have all that sitting on there. You can see the paper towel's already starting to degrade, so we'll flip it over. So it's pretty liquidy. Again, and I'll reiterate this point, you want to wait probably half a day. There's a kind of mild solvent in this that evaporates, and once it evaporates, it leaves behind just the lubricant, and it kind of, you know, gets tacky and it solidifies a little bit more. So when you start riding, it's not going to fling grease all over the place, you know, chain lube everywhere. So that's pretty much it. The job is done. I mean, we are done.